Fixing the PTU, desync, dynamic events, fauna, and more. Here are 9 things that CIG should do in 2024 that would improve our experience. We're not focusing on the big things that they've already talked about doing this year, but the small things that are mostly manageable. The last one I'm going to suggest, a completely new empty star system, maybe not so much. Number 1, fixing the PTU. The PTU's big problem is that most people just don't play on it. It doesn't get used as often as CIG need it to. 3.18 showed us that, and not enough people were playing and they didn't have the data, and it went live. Carnage. We can fix that by introducing a new currency to the game. We've got AUEC, we've got UEC, we've got REC. We need PTUC, PTU credits. For every, say, hour that you play on the PTU, maybe you get 10 credits. These can then gradually increase. You go to the PTU store and you can buy items similar to the subscriber store, but CIG are effectively motivating us and paying us to play on the PTU and to test for them. You obviously could also give credits for good issue council reports, something that might motivate more people to do issue council reports. And also, if CIG hadn't had something coming up where they really needed people to kind of hammer on the servers, just chuck a double XP event up. 2 times credits earned for any hours played. It's, I think, a fairly simple idea. I'm sure other people have said things similar to it, but it would help motivate most people to play. Some people really love getting new items. Now, these items could just be things that CIG have already released. They could be subscriber items. Maybe they could be PTUC exclusive items so that people who do loads of testing can show off. They can have some sort of helmet which got PTU slapped on the front of it. Who knows? I'm not that interested in the actual things that you get in the store, but more the fact that CIG needs to start motivating us to play in the PTU. Desync. Desync has long ruined PvP encounters and just general gameplay. Ships jumping all over the screen. And at various points, CIG have spent some time and tried to improve things. I think we are due another one of those pushes. I did a stream not too long ago, tried to give away some stuff. The idea was that people would be fighting each other, hand to hand, punching, slapping, whatever they wanted to do. But the desync was so bad, nobody could even hit each other. People were just moving all over the place. And so I just think once server meshing has kind of come in the first initial bit, because I think the people who are working on server meshing are also the same people who would be looking at something like desync. Once that first bit of initial static server meshing is coming, I would be very interested to see if CIG would do another push on improving desync. Maybe server meshing itself and the replication layer would improve things, who knows, but I would really love a push in 2024 to improve the situation with desync. Number 3, let's talk dynamic events, because I'm not sure all of these are really worth CIG's time. Xena Threat, I think, is a good event. It has that teaser of big fleet gameplay, ships everywhere at sub 20 FPS at least, but you at least see the future of maybe fleet combat. You also got the nice cargo gameplay. It's quite a well-rounded event, and I think probably could do with a few tweaks and just changes, maybe change of location to make it feel fresh rather than, I don't know why Xena Threat keep doing exactly the same thing in lore, but who knows, who cares. The next one would be Siege of Orison. I don't know about this one. I know that CIG are now putting masses of work, and they have been for ages, in the PTU to try and get Siege of Orison working. I just don't know that it's worth it. I think I've never completed the event. There's always been some sort of bug that has stopped me completing the event. But even when it's kind of been going well, you're often kind of so separate from the other players that somebody's already run miles ahead and they've done half the things. The lieutenants have been taken out, the codes have been found. I know they're trying to bunch it all together, but it just feels a bit separate and a bit of a mess, to be honest. I do get that CIG probably want to create a big PvE FPS showcase, but with the AI being as kind of woeful as they are 90% of the time, I just don't know really why they're chucking so many, seems like, resources at this. The team working on this, it must be doing tweaks and bug fixing. I guess at this stage they've probably gone too far to give up, but I don't think most people will be playing this over and over again. I just don't think most people care. The Nine Tails lockdown event was so unpopular that CIG just scrapped it. I actually never bothered playing that one. I just didn't ever try it. But they are turning it into the Blockade Runner event that in theory is coming this year. We'll have to see and wait and That could be good. We'll have to see how it goes. But I think the main clues for dynamic events and the success of them come from Jump Town. Obviously, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but really, what CIG have done with it is quite straightforward and simple. They spawn some boxes of drugs, and they give you the ability to sell them. And that's really all they're doing. There's no AI, no big locations needed. It's quite straightforward, very sandboxy. And so I think I'd probably prefer to see CIG just try and replicate that, but maybe with different professions, and maybe it's not fought over. Maybe everything would be fought over where money's involved. But I think if they were to just create other events, other things where they're spawning different exciting things for people to go and find or mine, a huge cluster of resources that suddenly are mined, people are going there. I think for now, that might be a better way to do dynamic events. But they're not really that dynamic anyway, especially when they're just repeating over and over again. It feels like you're just doing nothing. But I have got an idea that I think is a bit more exciting. Have you ever played Animal Crossing? You can build a bridge, and what happens is you put down your bridge marker, a little man thing appears there, and you deliver money to him, and once you've hit the target, the amount of money that you need, he overnight will build a bridge, and then the next day you've changed your island. Similar in the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I think it's called Tarry Town. You build up a town, you deliver resources, and it builds up, and you obviously have shops, things there that you can do. I would love to see something like that in Star Citizen this year. I think that's quite doable. All they need to do is say Microtech wants to build a small settlement on Microtech somewhere. They pop down a small building and they use that as their kind of base of operations. They request some materials, maybe some low value materials for building, like titanium, tungsten maybe, and miners can go out there, they can refine all that stuff, deliver it up to them, get paid for their delivery, but also once we hit some sort of mythical, magical target, CIG can drop in with the Rastar tool some buildings. Maybe after that, they then say, well, we need a landing pad, or maybe they want some sort of medical clinic. There's things that they can add on, and we can basically keep building up these locations. It would feel like we are contributing to the building of the star systems. We could also potentially get some sort of maybe in-game reward for contributing to this thing from Microtech. I don't know. Things like that, reputation, who knows. But I'd really love us to be able to shape the universe that we're in, rather than just CIG dropping a load of things in and saying, here you go. On a similar kind of note to that, why are there no real fetch quests in this game? I know it's not particularly exciting gameplay, but why don't the locations around the system request things? I know they buy and sell things, but surely there should be missions in some of these new derelict settlements where there's just a little job board or screen there that's just requesting items. Why does Grimhex not request guns? There's just very small gameplay type things that you feel like would easily be able to be dropped into the game, and they wouldn't change the game, but it would allow for more missions, more options for things for people to do. Those derelict settlements that we've got surely are in need of food, water, things like that. So I don't know. I think fetch quests on a basic level, they're not really in the game, and I don't really know why. Let's fix the lore system now. Let's switch things up. I think killing in the Star Citizen universe is very casual. This doesn't seem to be that big a deal. I think we need a bit of a shift in how we treat murder. Legal killing, it's fine. We can kill people once we've got permission to do so. So if you're doing some sort of bounty hunter mission or your self-defense, I think we can kill people. That's fine. But illegally killing somebody and having that crime recorded by a comrade, so it's caught by the crime system, that should be a bigger deal than it is. I don't think it's the best system that we just go to security post career and we just wipe it from existence and we just running around like it's fine. I think I would prefer a shift to, you could reduce the sentence down to 0 at security post career, so you didn't have to go to jail, but it would still be on your record that you had murdered somebody. I think stations and cities should be not very keen on people who murder people. There should be some penalties. There should be, maybe you can't land at some of these locations if you've murdered somebody, or maybe, I don't know how exactly they'd work that out. But the flip side is also true, is that if you've killed a load of Ninetales, the Ninetales should be cross at you. The Grimhex should probably not want you to land there. There should be more long-term reputation, and I know that is something that CIG are working on this year. The missions team, I think, have now taken over the reputation system, so I would imagine we're going to get a big revamp of how this works. But just in general, let's make murder slightly more of a big deal than it is. You shouldn't just be able to wipe it away and it's just completely done. Fauna. I would love a basic implementation of fauna in 2024. Just let us hunt some alien things and kill them and harvest some sort of resource from them. Or maybe for the more peaceful among us, you can milk one of the cows. Who knows? I don't think this is that complicated. I'm hoping that 12 years into development, we do have the AI technology to have a cow trot around, but maybe we don't. I mean, CIG have been working on the boids, the fish and the flying stuff, but how hard would it be to just plop down some space cows on Microtech, as they've shown us, they're in the trailer, in the demo. Surely we can have that and we can just go out, do a bit of hunting and collect some resources from them. Come on, CIG. 2024. Let's now fix the economy. This will be potentially a very unpopular opinion, so do forgive me. I'm allowed to be wrong, so maybe I'm wrong on this one. I think CIG should massively increase the price of in-game ships. I think as they currently stand, they're way too attainable, and I don't personally know anybody who owns 20 cars, and I don't know anybody who just casually goes out the next day and buys a new car. It's an event to buy some sort of vehicle. In Star Citizen, buying a ship is just something you can do every other day. It's not interesting. It doesn't feel like an achievement. Now, I know the argument will be, it's a game. It's not meant to be realistic and boring, and I don't think we want to go to realistic and boring, but I think we do want to go to the place where it's an event, it's an achievement. You ground out all the things you want to do, you've got your money and you buy a ship, and that's cool. At the moment, money just doesn't mean anything in the game because there's nothing to buy with it. All the ships are very easily attainable if you play the game fairly regularly, and it's just not interesting. I mean, we haven't got base building, things like that maybe money will be useful for long term. But for now, I think upping the price of the ships would be good. Basic crafting. I've been recently playing Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, kind of survival game with my wife. It has been very fun. One of the things that's been fun has been the fact that you can do basic crafting. It's surprisingly fun. Who knew, CIG? We've obviously now got the ability to craft very small number of things in the game on the salvage ships. But really, I would hope the CIG will just gradually increase this over 2024. I'm not asking for much yet. I'm not aiming high. I know a lot of people are after ship components, weapons, maybe ship parts, things like this, ships themselves one day. I think we need to aim much lower than that initially. I would say, can we just get the basics of, I've gone out, I'm on my travels, and I didn't bring any water. Can I craft a water bottle so I can use a river and fill it up? Can I add 2 pieces of food together to combine them to make some sort of meal, maybe? I mean, maybe that isn't the direction exactly that they want to go in, but we've got to start increasing the number of crafting options, and I don't know if CIG really know how they want to do this yet. There's a lot of talk about blueprints, and I think CIG have mentioned blueprints themselves, but I would imagine serious crafting of big items, like I said, are not going to come this year, but let's see them take tentative steps to build out a crafting system. An empty star system. Now, forgive me whilst we slightly go off the deep end here. This is sort of feasible this year, as I'll show you, but it would take a lot of things to go very, very well. CIG are aiming to deliver pyro and basic server meshing in the summer. Now, that's, I think, pretty unlikely. But if they somehow do that, please can we have another system at the end of the year that is completely empty? Imagine a brand new jump point appears in Stanton. It's a completely undiscovered system. It has no infrastructure, no stations, no settlements, no NPCs. Think of the sweet, sweet performance we'd have. Just one planet and one moon, completely unexplored. On that moon are deposits of a new super valuable resource ready to be mined. It's initially worth a fortune. And maybe on the planet there are super dangerous fauna whose venom is also super valuable. That's assuming fauna make a lot of progress this year. We have ourselves a good old-fashioned gold rush. Players rush to the system to try and make as much money as they can. There's no ability to refuel or rearm or repair in the system, so getting in and out is going to be tricky. Players group up, pirates pirate. It's the Wild West. is effectively a giant raid. It's like Jumptown. CIG just has to set up the scenario and let it play out. Using what I said earlier, maybe after a month, a company wants to start construction of a small space station inside this new system, and we all contribute resources to make life inside the system a little easier. We could maybe over the course of the year slowly build out the infrastructure of the system. This all might sound completely unrealistic, but if you think about it, it really isn't. CIG can easily create star systems. They've talked before, it doesn't take them long to create a planet and a moon, and especially if you've got no locations in a star system, that's not hard for them to do at all. The other thing would obviously be server meshing. If they can get server meshing in this year, the ability to link systems, why not link a third system? I'm sure that's their plan anyway. I'm sure Nix is probably more likely to be our actual third system with Delamar. We've had that in the past, and I'm sure they'll want to bring that in as soon as they can. But it isn't crazy to just start adding systems like this that create gameplay. The Rastar tool allows them to just drop in new locations. So if we are building out an infrastructure of a system, doesn't take much to build a new space station, just drop it in, or on the planet, maybe eventually there's some sort of settlement. Maybe I have gone off the deep end. Maybe I need to be careful what I'm huffing on, but I think it's not completely crazy to get an empty star system in 2024. Some of these ideas you might like, some of them you might absolutely hate. I would love you to tell me in the comments, be kind, but also I'd love to hear your ideas. What are the random things that CIG could do this year that aren't the big ticket items that they've already talked about? What are the little changes they could make that would probably make quite a big difference to the gameplay experience?